In the front group, led by Christophe Laporte. On his wheel is Matteo Jorgensen. Then you can see Valentin Madouas.
What up, gangsters?
Breakaway in the red jersey. Oscar Onley is with Warren Barguil in this group. Jack Haig looks like he might have filtered through as well. Von Wilder we've already spotted. Kwiatkowski again is at the back. Looks like it might be Jules Jensen in there.
So I think I'm gonna change and put in my title description. Hold on.
Is Nicolas Prodhomme. This now is Rui Costa who's trying to chase. Obviously, I think they want to get Carapaz up the road, don't they?
Well, it will be an interesting one who is from EF because they have been, very active, and yeah, Carapaz is the one you would expect. Healy as well, of course, another one might be on today.
Good morning, everybody. I'm just behind the peloton at the minute. We're just
I want to do more
but today is going to be a fast and
push-ups, so I'm going to do a new follower push-up type of thing. Just cause.
And the big worry is the altitude. Everybody performs differently at altitude. The numbers start to drop. It's obviously a lot harder to breathe up there. So it is a little bit of unknown, no matter how much you train up there. So for the riders that are used to it, they might be better. But if it goes wrong today, it could seriously go wrong. I'm hearing in my ears that there's a strong breakaway going up the road. And just to talk about that breakaway, it will be completely different to the composition of yesterday's breakaway. Today, there'll be a few riders, not many because it finishes on some hard climbs, but The main thing in that breakaway are riders going up the road, the likes of Jorgensen up there that are planned for later on. So Visma Leasebike already, as I'm sure you know, they have a big plan today, and I can't wait to find out what it is. I'm going to keep an eye on what's happening, and I'll be back to you soon. Back to you guys.
Thanks very much, Adam. Just as he was giving us that little update from the motorbike there, Rui Costa stopped pulling, Sean. There was a big moment of hesitation. A couple of Visma Leasebike riders, including Jan Tratnik, came to the front, just slowed things down, and you had Marc Soler looking around and waiting for Niels Pollitt to come to the front to start pulling. In all of that time, the gap has ballooned to 31 seconds, and it's a serious problem now that UAE have, with Stefan Bissiger still helping them to pull back, because despite having Paulus in here, it's obvious that EF want Carapaz up the road.
Yes, and it is an interesting one that UAE, we're not panicking at all there. We could see Soler, he was just following, riding a bit on the front, but no great urgency. And then we can see Niels Pollitt appears here, and they're getting the pull here from the EF education team who want to close this one down. And it's a very interesting one, because when you look at UAE, they would be able to put people in this breakaway if they really wanted it. That was the tactic. It looks like they're just going to, sit back, wait. And with Visma Leasebike riders up there, they don't seem to be really concerned at all for the moment. Maybe they have a plan. Okay, if Visma want to
okay, I think I changed the title, so.
We are going to wait.
But I think it'd be good. I need to do more push-ups, and I'm just way too
really heated there, and yeah, it's going to be a question
whatever about it.
Vingegaard is going to be. Is he able to ride away from Pogacar? With the past number of days, when you see the way they perform, it doesn't look like he will be able to do that. So having men in front, it's a great situation to be in. But as you say, Rob, the leader has to be able to profit from that later in the stage.
It looks as though the third rider from Visma Leasebike is in fact Wilco Kelderman. We said we didn't know if it was Lemon or Kelderman. It seems as though it's now been identified as Kelderman. And this, without doubt, is Bissiger. But they're losing this battle at the minute. 35 seconds. And UAE can be thankful that EF are having to work here. This is Tobias Haaland Johannesson, by the way. Nasty crash yesterday, but he's still in the race. And it seems as though there are as many as 22 riders in the front group. And breathe, because it's been a breathless start. We've had 10 kilometers ridden. We've got a group up the road that's mightily dangerous. The first bricks laid of a grand plan to turn the tour around. Today's a different day, we know that. A different kind of climb, a different kind of stage. On paper before the tour, you would have said, remember the Col du Grand. Remember the Col de la Loze. Tadej Pogacar might have had reason to be fearful. But he's since put his altitude issue to bed. He's won well over 2,000 meters in Catalonia. He's destroyed the competition high in Italy. But that competition didn't include Jonas Vingegaard. It didn't include a plan like this to really put him under threat. We'll have to see how it develops. There's no reason to believe that Pogacar is weak. But Visma promised to try, and it's exactly what they're attempting to do here.
Well, they're definitely doing a good job and putting a number of riders in the breakaway. It will be an interesting one as we go further into the day, what the tactic will be. And we can see at the moment, this gap is growing out. And Vingegaard, of course, he has the problem not having racing, not being able to prepare after his crash in Pays Basque. And the norm would be when you get into the third week, you're going to see the effects of that, and we have seen a little bit of it. But is he feeling today that he can do the longer climbs, the higher altitude, all of that? Will he be able to pull something out of the back? And that's always a worry for the leader, Pogacar, that his main rival can have a real good day when it's the real important day, and that we will see. I think on the Bonnet will be the first one where we'll see a bit of a selection. And with the race now 45 seconds out of this breakaway, It looks like that the UAE are just waiting off for a point in the race, and then they're just going to start pushing on the pace and, you know, take control and probably try and win this stage at the end.
46 seconds and growing. Christophe Laporte, Matteo Jorgensen and Wilco Kelderman all on contributing. There's a lot of passengers in this group at the moment though. There's some very good riders in this group. We mentioned the 3 riders from Visma Lease Bike, confirmed as being with them: Haig, Van Wilder, Sobrero, Madouas, Paulus, Prodom, Kwiatkowski and Jules Jensen. Formula with Lascano again. Rodriguez, Barguil, Onley, Court, Abramson, Biogoro, Turgis and Brian Coquart. It's an A-lister group, this. 50 seconds. Kwiatkowski, an important man up the road as well, maybe for Carlos Rodriguez later on. What a group we have up the road. And UAE Emirates at the moment are getting a hand to chase this from EF Education Easy Post, who would quite like to have Richard Carapaz with them. We've got our own man up in that chase. We're going to go to Adam in a moment. Adam, what a start, what a group. Jorgensen, Kelderman, Laporte. It's game on, isn't it? What's happening?
Oh, it's on like Donkey Kong, Roberto. Sorry, I didn't turn the mic on then. But yeah, this is going to be a hell of a stage. We've got EF chasing, which you can see now already. But this is great for UAE in terms of they don't have to do that chasing. But at the same time, it's also great for Visma with the guys in the front that they've got, but also with one group chasing, that is still going to make it hard for the likes of Tadej Pogačar. And if we remember in recent stages that Visma really wanted to make it hard for Tadej. They believe that that's his weakness. For a long time, if they make it hard, it might tire him out, and that's where Jonas might be able to pounce. Jonas did lose time on that stage where they tried that the last time, but it's really difficult for Jonas to know what to do. I think they're going to bet on the altitude today and hope that he's tired when he gets up there, but there's so many scenarios that could play out at the minute.
Adam, how long do you think EF will want to chase? Will they continue to chase? Will they not start to think, well, hang on, we'll have to leave it to UAE here and just gamble there?
I think they might do, yeah. The only problem is that Carapaz is going to, no, not the problem, but Carapaz is going to have to go soon. On this first climb, I can imagine he'll really start to try and jump across, as we've seen him done in the past, getting across the breakaways. We know that he's got the legs to do so. So I think, you know, EF will start to ride at a hard pace until they feel like that's probably the limit. They've still got the rest of the stage to go, don't forget. This is not the last climb, so they can't just pull off like it was the last climb. So I don't think it's long before we see Carapaz try to bridge across to that. But it just depends who he takes with him, because he starts to
Joy.
if UAE start to respond
2
to
sprints.
then it'll slowly open that race up again. So as I said, that game of chess, the tactical battle that is happening, it really depends on how UAE are going to approach it. Will they follow the attack if Carapaz goes, or will they just start to ride and let Carapaz go?
I guess there's a bit of a tactical chess going on in the front group as well, because not everybody's riding. They know how important it is for Visma Lease Bike. And as I'm watching this, I've just watched a couple of little gaps open up as people haven't come through to take their turn. Jorgensen and Kelderman are continuing on. Make sure you keep an eye on that for us as well, won't you, Adam?
Yeah, I will do. I'm going to make my way up. As you can see, we're on a bit of a narrow road at the minute, Rob. I can't really go anywhere. But once this calms down, I'll try and get up to the front group, try and keep an eye out what's happening. I'll speak to Visma Lease Bike as well, see if they'll slip the tongue with any sort of information they shouldn't be giving me. I'll try and drag it out of them politely.
Oh, you're a polite young man, Adam. Thank you. Do your best, and we'll speak to you later. We're 15 kilometres in. Sean Kelly still with me, Rob Hatch, on a banger of a start of a day on the big final weekend. The end game's here. Robbie McEwen joins us for it. And Robbie, what a turn up for the books this is.
Turn up for the books. Well, it was the expectation, I think, of a lot of people after some of those more tech-savvy people looking at bikes at the start and noticing the aero bike with a one-by chainring of Jonas Vingegaard. It's sort of the sign that they are going to go for it, and it's going to be an attacking race by the Visma Lease bike. And like you just identified a few moments ago, there started to be passengers in this breakaway group because they know the score. They know that Visma are trying to make things hard, set up the race for Jonas Vingegaard, and they know they're going to keep pushing the pace. So they say, okay, I can take a back seat, especially those have got in this break on relatively flat roads. I mean, it's undulating and it's not easy, but they want to save the legs before they get to that first climb of the day, and they can just rely on Visma, just keep pushing on, and they can all just follow wheels. After that, it's going to be hanging on to try and stay there. And I was also of the opinion that EF, you know, having missed out getting more than one in it and having missed getting Carapaz in it, they've got to just try and keep it close enough for Carapaz to have a go once they get to the climb. But it's getting out of hand, nearly out to a minute, but we know he can do it.
Sean, this is Carapaz territory today, isn't it? High altitude, he's not bothering anyone in the GC. On his day, of course, he can ride with them anyway. He's got to pick his moment to come. If they think the break's going, I guess that moment's got to come somewhere on the Col de Vars. Probably the first bit, which is the steepest bit, isn't it? The first few kilometres.
Yes, and it will be interesting to see what the GC teams and notably UAE want to do here, and if they want to ride on the first climb, you know, make a bit of a tempo on the Col de Vars, well then it's going to be difficult for the riders to get the gap which they would like to go all the way and get onto the bonnet with an advantage. And we can see here, you know, there's so many riders on tow here with Visma Lease bike. They know that, you know, they want to push on here. You can see it very clearly out in front. Also, you know, the first time they want to get up to the Col de Vars, get over that and get onto the bonnet and see what the position is. So it's totally unorganised out front.
I'm 1,500 metres from the top of the first climb of the day today, the all category Col de Vars. It's a very, very long climb, 18.8 kilometres, averaging 5.7%. But when you factor in a couple of plateaus and flatter section, most of the climbing is far steeper than that. This is the Porte du Napoleon, little bit of a flat section, a downhill. The hardest part of the Col de Vars is actually the bottom. I can't see this climb it being super decisive, but as it does go right up to altitude, about 2,100 metres above sea level, it really is going to start to sap the strength of the riders ahead of what's still to come. Look at those views.
Thanks, Matt. You admire them because the riders won't be able to do that. They're chasing now on the wheel of Rui Costa, Sean Quinn, and EF continue to ride. Look at Pogacar, how high up he is already. On his wheel already, just not even 20 kilometres into the stage is Jonas Vingegaard wearing the polka dot jersey today, who has Tish Benoot with him.
And I was just starting to think, Rob, about who's going to respond. Carapaz, the obvious one to go, and I start to see them lining up behind. Simon Yates not far away, just 10 or so positions behind. Egan Bernal riding right on the wheel of Richard Carapaz. I wouldn't be surprised. Roman Bardet, there he is. I just spotted him as well. I'm looking for those, you know, the usual suspects, if you like, the ones with the climbing power, and they're all over this. They're all sitting there waiting for the moment that Carapaz is going to launch.
Up the road, by the way, 1 minute, 1 second of a gap is the biggest gap they've had so far. If you're looking at the composition of the 22 riders, Jorgensen, of course, is the biggest name in the GC. He's at 22 minutes, 18 seconds, but we know today he's working for that man in the polka dots. It's all in. He said today it was all for the boss when he logged in for Instagram. He said today was the end game.
Well, of course, it's all for the boss because, you know, the defending champion, you know, the winner of the past 2 years, he's not happy with second, and I think he's going to risk and try, big time to break the man in the yellow jersey and see what the damage will be. But yeah, it's a difficult one here. You know, looking at the last number of days, when you consider all of that, you look at Vingegaard's preparation for this race, it is going to be a real difficult one. But you have to try, and unless you try, you're never going to know.
Tadej Pogacar's lead in the general classification looked extremely fortified, rather like that big mansion on the hill there, Let's see if they can break through the defences today.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, Rob, that scenic we just saw of the fortress is a great metaphor for the UAE team around Tadej Pogacar.
Ilan van Wilder's an interesting name here as well. Of course, he's crashed in this race, but he is mightily talented. And he's a main man for Evenepoel. We know, too, that Rodriguez up there in 6th in the GC has Kwiatkowski in this group. This now is Kelderman pulling through. And just look at Paulus. He's trying to annoy them at the front, trying to get in the way of the chase here.
Yeah, just keep the pace down. He's happy to be there, and he will want this group to stay in front, but he doesn't want the gap to be too big. So Carapaz is able to get his way across on time for the top of the climb to try and take maximum points, because he'd need to win the first 2 climbs realistically and then get even more points tomorrow. So it's not just about today, but this is the start. If it doesn't happen for Carapaz over this first climb, I think you can write him off for the mountain jersey just about.
Shit. Intermediate sprint coming up first.
Does that mean I have to do 5 push-ups?
Being played here. There's the sprint and the prize on offer anyway, and it looks as though Total Energy will be going for this. It should be Turgis, I think, there at the front. Cookhouse there as well. Turgis on his wheel.
Let me see what you said. I gotta move this over.
Second will be Turgis. And on the left-hand side there, looked like it might have been Brent van Moer.
So with that, Brian Coquard will go to 208 points, which brings him only to 146 behind second place Jasper Philipsen. But he has put some distance between himself and Anthony Turgis, of course. The difference between them at the start of the day was 25 points.
I'm still gonna do them. Just cause. What up? How are you? I'm trying to see your name. Mark? Is that what it says?
Well, it's difficult getting organised. We can see there is no great organisation here. There's so many riders just waiting and not.
Hope you got a good ride going on. Are you on Zwift or Mywhoosh?
And you see the riders that want to push on. You don't want to get involved in this earlier part.
Look at Jaco Alula now.
Today's just
Bringing Simon Yates up, him and Carapaz.
just a little tempo ride, kind of easy.
This is Hugo Page, who'd already been dropped off the back once, got himself back on, and he's dropped again.
Marblehead.
Long
Oh, okay.
day if you're suffering now.
It is a very long day. The only good news for riders who are in trouble.
Now I see your name.
Is that they've extended the time
In Japan? Oh, word.
3%, depending on the average speed. The time, the hors delay, the time cut will be anywhere.
I did not buy the pass or anything, so I have not been able to experience Japan.
And they're riding fast.
But I heard it's cool.
They're flying.
So enjoy.
And Lecoq was the man standing tall across the line. 20 points for him. 17 going the way of Anthony Turgis. Stage winner, remember. Seems like an age ago in Champagne. Now 35 seconds. This Melissa bike have to be careful here because it could be being undone very quickly, this good start of theirs.
It's actually getting a little bit too small, the gap, because it just makes it possible for...
I think my camera's a little low on this one.
The brake to get shut down. Although if Carapaz can go and the real GC contenders, the top 10 on GC don't...
No, I've seen Japan looks really cool.
It's still a good situation for them, for Carapaz.
So hopefully they roll it out for everybody.
Sure, we'll have to keep an eye on this. Just 27 seconds now. Your compatriot Healy, who's doing a lot of damage on the front of that chasing peloton.
Yes, well, that's where they can do the real damage. You know, the riders like Healy, they can, you know, just push on and close down that gap very quickly. Yeah, there's a lot of waiting around here. Out front, of course, there's, you know, the riders, they're not prepared to ride, and that is the reason the gap is coming down as well. They're not really pushing on. Intermediate sprint didn't help either because, you know, they went for the sprint and then it was a bit all over the place in that group of 20 plus riders on the front end of the race.
Now Jaco ride, Durbridge is there, Matthews is on his wheel. You can see now, ready to jump, ready to go, is Mr. Carapaz himself. He doesn't have too many teammates left though as it goes uphill. Now he's going to move. Bernal's going to go with him. Is there another reaction? Soler thinks about it. Sivakov can't go. And for them it seems like it's control at the minute. And the baton will be passed because if that's that, Carapaz can go. Bernal goes with him. It will be on UAE to start chasing.
I don't even know where I'm riding today.
Well, I mean, they've got no one to really chase that's a threat, so they can stay relaxed.
I usually just pick the first one, and
Surprisingly, Simon Yates, while he's
as of recently, anything with elevation, because I'm trying to complete that elevation achievement for the season pass. Other than that,
Carapaz going past Formolo.
I saw some pictures. Looks really good.
Now is Kelderman. I wouldn't probably take too seriously that gap.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
We had an image from another camera further back. It's more than 14 seconds at the minute.
Well, look at the Visma riders just pushing it. Jorgensen and Kelderman, because this was nearly going to ruin their team's plan.
16 seconds. It is certainly at least that, because I'm looking back and Carapaz and Bernal, who'd escaped from the peloton, are not yet into the shot. Here they are. Valdez now on the wheel. One last hurrah maybe for him at the Tour. He's already had a very good Tour, hasn't he, as riders go backwards behind. Now Simon Yates is in the chase.
And he's really missed it there, Yates. So if he's this good to get away from the peloton and be almost closing the gap on this 3, he was right there at the front when he needed to be initially, and then suddenly disappeared. Philipsen in trouble out the back. Tempo time. He's relaxed.
See at the finish, Jasper. Converse then, 18.8 kilometers, but don't be fooled by the average of 5.7%. There's a long section in the middle. You've even got a descent in the middle here. Look at those first few kilometers. The first 5 Ks or so, above 10% average. And this is where it goes uphill, right from the gun at the bottom now.
Very difficult climb right from the get-go, and as you said, that plateau just over halfway up it. But this gap to the peloton still really small. I expect to see some others try and get their way out of the peloton and see if they can also come across.
We saw Jasper Philipsen then. Adam tells me that there's only 4 riders behind Philipsen. He's never been dropped so early and in such small company in this Tour yet.
Well, that'll be an interesting one to see in the rest of the peloton what the situation will be. You know, he probably sees that there's a lot of riders just fighting to hold on there, and the riders getting dropped out of the main peloton. If this chase continues in the peloton, there will be a lot more riders come out the rear. He'll be able to catch up and get into a group, and not really, you know, panic situation yet, but yeah, a little bit earlier than we normally would see Philipsen. He's a better climber than some of the heavier, the bigger riders here, the sprinters, and yeah, we can see here, you know, it's a difficult one for everybody. You know, this is a short stage, you know, it's very intense, and the climb we have got, when you look at 50 kilometers of climbing, and you know, the grade and the distance of climbs, all of that, it is going to be yeah, a test majorly for everyone.
The big groups being dropped.
Oh, word.
Yeah,
sorry, I get a little quiet.
Genier as well. Decent climbers to the group we just saw. There'll be a whole other group behind that. So I think it was a bit of a show of confidence by Jasper Phillips. Like, I'm getting close to the limit. I know those guys are. I'll pedal my way onto the group header.
Christophe Laporte being dropped from the front of this group now after having done the work to try and get it ahead. Kelderman and Jorgensen will be the riders up the front. And it's Carapaz, Bernal and Bardet who are on their way across. You have 3 podium finishers at the Tour, 1 Tour winner in that group, 3 yellow jersey wearers, all 3 stage winners, and you've got a winner of another Grand Tour in the shape of Carapaz. We talked about the quality of riders not involved in the GC, but in the fight for stages. Another illustration. They're talking to Grand Tour winners. Here he is. Simon Yates is coming along for the ride as well. Laporte is an interesting one. He's picked up a bead on there. He's got in his pocket, Sean. I guess maybe part of the plan, if this was going to happen, was for him to drop back then and now try and stay with the peloton.
Yes, it's surprising to see Christophe Laporte getting dropped out of this group when you see the riders that are still up in front here. So it could be a plan. Yeah, guess, you know, maybe one man back out of this leading breakaway. And Visma in a situation here, this is a real complicated one, because you know, they have a lot of riders here are just on tour for the moment, and the effort they're putting in. Yeah, is it the
You been riding for a long time or what?
Interesting to see what happens later. should you keep the riders with you and make a pace on the Col de Bonnet with the riders like Kelderman, who is a super climber? I don't know what the answer is exactly. They're going to continue on here, and they'll hopefully get rid of a lot.
I was on Zwift for a while.
Not, real advantage with having riders with you. So
But then I canceled.
See what will happen back in peloton.
Probably half a year ago.
Back in the gruppetto. And Healy's there after having done his work. He's with Binyam Girmay, Mark Cavendish and co. This is the lead of the race, just inside 120 kilometers to go. Simon Yates onto the wheel of Chris Juul Jensen, who's dropped back to help him.
Yeah, nice work by Juul Jensen. He's done really well getting himself into these early breaks. This third week of Grand Tour, Juul Jensen really does seem to come into his own with these fast, aggressive starts on hard terrain. He so often gets himself into the break.
EF's radio coming up now. Paulus has dropped back to help out Carapaz too.
I do miss Swift, but if I can save a little money,
Confirmation of what
might as well switch.
Charlie Wigelis. He was
At least for now.
with his brilliant Spanish, by the way, the other day, speaking to Carapaz, but of course a message intended for all audiences there. But the plan might have a little bit of weakness here if they can't keep the men in the chasing group. Wout van Aert is fighting to hang on. Laporte is back in this group, and if Van Aert was to go backwards already, that would be a problem. Right at the front now, it's UAE who are setting the pace and trying to reply strongly. And look at this from Marc Soler.
I'm surprised at the level of effort so far from UAE. This could be opening themselves up a little bit, or a lot.
I'm trying to look who they have left here, because Yates is the man sitting with Pogacar. You can see that Soler and Sivakov at the front. Where's Almeida?
At the back of this group, where he normally is.
You'd hope so, if you were UAE, wouldn't you?
Riding smart so he can preserve his GC later on.
Well, we know Almeida.
Robbie's not going on his holidays to Portugal now, is he?
No, not at all. No, but Almeida, he just sits back a bit and, he does appear, get into the climb, he gets into his rhythm, and then slowly he works his way up. So I'd be surprised if he's not a bit further back in this group. But it looks like UAE are just going to boss this stage, and Soler on the front at the moment, controlling things. And you could see at the start, they weren't anxious or not trying to get into the breakaways at all, playing it very calm, and now they're just going to take control, and it looks like they're going to stamp their authority big time on this stage.
Yeah, we saw it in the Giro too, didn't we, that Tadej Pogacar, he loves a demonstration, and he loves to put his name on the top of the results sheet on the Queen stage of a Grand Tour.
Decent heart rate today, doing well.
Drop from the group behind, of course. We didn't see him there. Adam confirming that, by the way, on the motorbike. 42 seconds here as Soler is trying to go supersonic already. And you could see the reaction at the front, because that was Jorgensen riding a ridiculous...
I think this is a 30-second sprint.
This man can't hang on. He's been one of the strongest riders in the Tour so far. Now, Meintjes thinks he's strong, and he's trying to attack from this peloton that's already going 1,000,000 miles per hour. It's all happening on the roads of the Tour de France today.
Well, with this attack by Louis Meintjes, I wonder if just the signal might have gone through to Soler. No, he tried to respond, actually. So it's a really good acceleration by Meintjes. I just was wondering if maybe Soler had been told to wind it back a fraction.
By the way, when you're going through Portuguese passport control, Robbie, you might want to say that, yeah, I saw João Almeida. There he is right at the back.
No, I think he's doing brilliantly.
Just to report, I am behind the front group right now, and just to let you know, Tim Wellens was off the back there. I don't know if you've seen it or not from UAE, but I think with the tactic here that UAE are deploying, two can play at this game, Visma Lease bike. If you want to make it hard, we'll make it hard for you and see how you like it. Tadej Pogacar has proved himself that he has been stronger than Jonas Vingegaard. So I think they're playing mind games. Not, okay, Visma, we're going to let you do this. Okay, we know what your plan is. They're sticking to their plan. And this might have been the plan all along. No matter what the situation, we will go hard on this climb. Just in front of me here, we've got Wout van Aert, Christophe Laporte. You can see it as a camera motorbike. Those riders are getting dropped now. So Jonas Vingegaard, if I can see ahead.
A little oomph.
Benoot, just one rider in front of him. His other teammates are in front, but he's quite isolated right now. If there's a problem, he only has Tish Benoot to be able to respond to that and help him get back on, especially with Van Aert and Christophe being dropped. This is going to be a fascinating day. Just in front of me as well, you've got Niels Pollitt just slowly coming back down from that group. So it's thinning out quickly. The pace is hot, and this has only just begun. Back to you, commentators.
What a situation.
I was going to say, I literally just put up the push-up thing maybe like 10 minutes ago.
Bernal was struggling a little bit, but he's following in that group now.
Well, you followed 14, so probably like 20 minutes ago.
You heard about teammates
Just for shits
remaining
and
there.
giggles.
Shots fired straight away from Visma Leasebike.
I was
At
like,
the
there's
very
no
beginning of the
way
race today. This is Benoot on the left-hand side. Who's winning the arms race?
anybody's going to really care.
At the moment, if this was an arm wrestle, then team-wise, Visma have just got the arm of UAE bending back in the right direction for them. But it sort of looks like UAE wants to, as much as they can at the moment, negate the advantage of Visma.
But I don't mind doing them. That's why I put it up there. I need to do more push-ups. I need to do more workouts.
They're being forced to go all out at the moment to hold this gap. And
I need
that
to
could
stream
blow up
more,
satellite riders before they're of any
and I need to
use
be more
in an
active,
eventual attack
which
of
is
Jonas
like
Vingegaard.
total
If in
contradictory
fact
to
he
each
does
other.
have that in him today.
Bernal blowing up. Meinke's not going anywhere. He's retaken, and you saw, Sean, didn't you? Nielsen Paulus, all he'd given there for Richard Carapaz. He was literally swinging as Laporte and Fanart are now out the back. Oh, my word.
Yes, this is proving.
But yeah, that's why I just have the tour, last year's Tour of France just going in the background, just to give it a little bit of noise. I'm typically pretty quiet, so no one's here to watch. Not gonna really talk.
About the battle between the big teams here, Visma Leasebike and UAE Team Emirates. Visma Leasebike probably think, okay, we have to just make this difficult for them, make the team of UAE have to ride, and maybe Vingegaard feels that it's a real difficult stage all through the day. That is the best opportunity for him to try something against the race leader, Tadej Pogačar. So for the moment, yeah, depending on what the strategy in the teams is, but you know, Visma are burning their men that they need to set the pace on the climb. If that is the tactic for later on, and you know, there's a lot of times where there's a lot of pace to be set for many kilometers, and you know, Simon Le Bournes, 22 kilometers. You know, that altitude which is going to kick in, all of that. It's an interesting one, who is losing the battle here at the moment, because maybe they feel, yeah, if you get Vingegaard to a certain point in the race and he's on a good day, then he can do the damage and try and ride away. But there's a long way and a lot of climbing to be done to do that. But who knows what exactly the strategy, tactic is within the teams.
Sean, just while you were talking about the lessening power of Visma Leasebike, they lost another man. Jan Tratnik was just dropped from that group there. We knew he'd been struggling. So there's only Tish Benoot, and he was right to the back of the group. Question, is Bart Lemon still there? Is he the military man obeying orders and executing the plan? Here's Benoot right at the back. Just see him, number 2 there.
Oh, I thought Lemon might have been just up in front of Benoot, and oh, the struggle is real, isn't it?
Coming away for him. If you have legs, Nielsen, wait for him.
And those legs have been used to get him to the front. Good job, well done for the moment by EF.
Yeah, that was the communication that was, as Carapaz was coming across, obviously, and Nielsen Paulus then did his job, did as much as he could pacing Carapaz, and they've got the right man in the right position for the moment. Romain Bardet also dropped out of that group now. On the radio to the team, it's not happening for me.
Change of situation, the gap increases from the break to the peloton, 52, 53 seconds. Jonas Vingegaard is isolated at the front with Tadej Pogačar. He has Benoot at the back, and for now, Bart Lemon. That is it. 2 riders, of course, are still up the road. the rest of the team out the game, dropped off the back, as Simon Yates reaches the front. And I guess that Visma Lisa bike, Sean Keller, will be hoping that everybody here collaborates and works, because at the minute it's just them.
Yes, and it's going to be really difficult.
I feel like I've gotten stronger within the past 2 weeks.
14 kilometers to get to the summit of this one, the Col de Vars, and there's not going to be a lot of people wanting to contribute here. Van Wilder, he's another one. He might just want to keep this thing rolling, but the rest, I think they're going to sit on for quite a long time, and you know, that is the problem here on a climb. Unless you have really, you know, big interest and riders that are real good climbers to, you know, keep on pushing the pace real strong on the climb, is going to be a difficult one. So yeah, it's settled into a pace now. We can see the peloton at 57 seconds, and Soleil is just going to do the same. Keep on this real killer of a pace, and you know, keep that going for a long time, and get later into the stage. And you know, Simon Bonnet is a one where that will the race. We will see the real cracks, and we will see who is going to be the one is going to gain most out of this situation at the moment. So it's all in the balance for the time being.
What an incredible start. Dynamite planted, laid. Didn't put much of a timer on it, did they? 115 kilometers to go. Might as well be 5 to go. These guys following each other wherever they go. Look at this.
Well, as you said, Rob, there's maybe no fuse at all on the Dynamite today. They've just thrown it straight in the bonfire.
A chat between Almeida and Pogačar, and even for that chat, Vingegaard goes back to follow him. Evenepoel has hit and Landa here. You can see Lemon hanging on with Benoit, and Pogačar with a couple of mates working at the front. And look who's still hanging on. He's about to be dropped. Sean, one of the man of the tournament, I guess.
Well, I had to look at a number of times to recheck, because he is still here, and you know, that just tells how well the team are. And this man, he's just having a marvelous tour.
Jonas Vingegaard, is this the most important test of the whole Tour de France for you today?
No, that's really hard to put it like that. I mean, it's one of them for sure. It's a very, very tough and hard stage, but we also had already a lot of tough and hard stages, so I just have to keep fighting and keep believing that it's possible.
3 minutes and 11 seconds is the deficit, but when you take a look at the parkour and the altitude, this has got your name written all over it for a stage like today.
Yeah, I mean, normally it's a stage that I like. So hopefully today I will have good legs as well, and at least I'll do just everything I can, and then we'll see by the end of the day.
We've seen you record some of your best power numbers in this Tour de France. It's a sign of good things to come today.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope I recovered. I feel like I'm recovered, so I feel like I'm ready for today, and I'll give absolutely everything I can for the last 3 days.
Thanks, Jonas. Best of luck.
He'll be hoping that that's the only time he fluffs his lines today.
A lot of hoping, and I think there's a little bit of doubt there in the answers coming from Vingegaard. And yeah, when you look at, I suppose, the recent performances in the last difficult days, it will be a day. Well, a surprise to me if he can really put the yellow jersey in difficulty, but you never know. We've seen it you know, many times over the tour. A rider looks so much in control, and then suddenly, oh, he's getting in difficulty today when you're least expecting it. But yeah, today is definitely the big day, and you know, he was asked about that. Is this the D-Day? I think this is going to be certainly the one where, you know, the two will be won here, and we will see very much the podium at the end of this day, because this is the monster day, and the climbs we've got, as we mentioned, and you know, this is going to be the big selection for the win of this race, the place in the podium, and also the top 5 places in the GC standings.
Pogačar still at the back. Vingegaard has moved back up into the middle. This was the conversation between Almeida and Pogačar. You can see a pat on the back, by the way, between Jorgensen and Kelderman at the front a moment ago. Geraint Thomas was dropped, but he's working his way back on. Jan Tratnik is in that group with him. The trying to get back on, not succeeding yet. They were very, very close and in the cars. A reminder that the first, 5, 6 Ks, the hard section of this climb where there's a break in the middle. And Paul is still there, right alongside Tadej Pogačar. The note, Lemon, upping in pace at the front means that Pogačar will follow the wheels, and he's going to move up now. 104, and the gap's growing.
Well, he's moving up. He moved back just a moment ago. Have a little chat with your teammates. How are you doing there? All okay? Then he starts to move up again. You know, it is amazing when you're in this shape and you can do that, because normally when you have a teammate sitting on the front and setting quite a strong pace, and you see some of the riders there, the suffering they're having.
Okay, what am I going to do this power at?
Just a really
230, 240?
As they say in French, in the earlier part of the stage for the moment for him. And yeah, when you're in
Just
that
drink some
sort
water.
of form, well, then you just have to you know, follow the race here, allow your teammates to control here, and we can see, look at the front of the peloton, like it's just a domination by UE at the moment. But that can also change. You know, 113 kilometers, we have all the difficult part of the stage to come, but they're definitely putting their authority on this stage already today.
Tadej Pogačar looking fairly relaxed, sitting a long way back. We saw him just go back and have a chat with Joao Almeida, and who I'm safe.
Come on, people.
I think he's riding a great
Shoot a follow. I want to do more than
No, he really is. And
5 push-ups.
He's the man to use.
I want to do at least 30.
He's the last man that is able to stay with Tadej Pogačar. Adam Yates has had his struggles over the last few days, and now
Which I know it's not going to happen.
a lot further back in the wheels, leaving his main rivals up in front of him, significantly in front of him, but he can see where they're going. He's just not panicking.
It's okay, I'll survive.
Group as well.
Buon viaggio.
He'll need it.
Obrigado.
Sorry, Robbie.
While Robbie checks his documents, let's go to Adam Blythe.
So I'm just behind the peloton, well, just behind Jan Tratnik right now. Jan Tratnik is just holding that peloton, just slowly closing in. He's at about 15, 20 seconds off the back. The peloton in itself has slowed down. We've done the hardest part of the climb so far, so I think they've done the damage on the steeper sections, UAE, and now they've just backed off a little bit. So Tratnik may be able to get back in, but it's interesting to see where Tadej Pogačar is sitting. He came right towards the back to sit next to Niels Pollitt. Jonas followed him and then moved back to the front. So Tadej Pogačar, he is obviously flying and trying to play with Jonas a little bit, try and make him believe that he's feeling super, super good. But it does look like Tadej Pogačar, by the way that he's riding, is on a flyer today. Back to you, commentators.
Nice to get that inside info, and Sean suggested it from the pictures with how he was looking. Adam's seen it up close and personal. By the way, Robbie, don't worry. I won't be the one laughing this evening. I'm the one who's got to travel today with all the computers not working around the world. I'm supposed to be coming to see you lot tomorrow, but you never know. You might get lucky and I might not make the flight.
Yeah, it looks like we may be keeping Larry for another day too, with all those computer systems down. We'll see. Anyway, best of luck. We do hope we see you up here, Rob. We love you.
Thanks, darling. Let's see who's up here at the front, shall we? Now then. Oh. Yates on the radio. This is Sivakov. Just hold it. Just hold it.
Yeah. Just to Mark Soler, I got this covered. You just calm down.
120's the gap. The riders who are up the road at the minute, of course, we've seen different. We had 22, didn't we, up the road early on? We've now got 9. Jorgensen and Kelderman, we've talked about them at length and with reason. They are the pawns being played already in the tactical chess game by Visma Lease Bike. They're joined by Simon Yates, Nicolas Prodhomme, Ilan van Wilder, who could be very important for Remco Evenepoel later on today. There's Jai Hindley, who wants a stage win. Richard Carapaz, who wants another, and maybe a polka dot jersey, as well as Christian Rodriguez, who's a really good climber from southern Spain, and Oscar Onley, who's a really good climber from Scotland. Geraint Thomas has made it back on here, so I suggest in that group Jan Tratnik came back with him. Things are changing, the gap is growing, but it's still UAE at the front here. Halfway up the beautiful Col de Vars.
Simon Yates signalled just off that front group. Back in it. No, he's back in it. Gruppetto watch.
A rare opportunity to get some food and drink here for Landa and company.
Sorry, Rob, I was just saying Gruppetto watch. They're at 4.5 minutes, the Gruppetto. But with it, what looks to be, at the moment, an average speed of 36. Of course, it includes that lightning fast start. But I think they're going to have so much time to get in today. It's just a matter of them being able to finish. And I think they'll be safely inside the time limit, which has been increased by 3%. Of course, depending on the average speed, but that's going to be high. So I think there'll be, it's going to be 50 plus minutes, I think, in the end.
Peloton is slightly bigger. Sean, I did just see that Jan Tratnik had made it back on, so safety in numbers, or at least that feeling of having the safeties there. But I think you've seen once riders have dropped, the pace goes up again. Usually it's the same thing that happens, isn't it?
It is with some riders, although, you know, like a Geraint Thomas, maybe just that real fast start there, you know, maybe need a bit more time to get into the race, and he could be better later on. But normally when a rider gets into difficulty in the earlier part, you're going to pay a bit when the race and really start a bit later. But sometimes we do see a great recovery, you know, just riders are more of a diesel, and as you get old in your career as well, some of the you know, the big champions are in that way. As they go further on, a lot of riders get tired, but they are just the stayers there and they can do that. But yeah, not a good one for Visma Lease bike there at the start at all. You know, we see a lot of riders in difficulty, and again we can see just the team of UAE controlling now. And we did see Sivakov there. What a tour he's having as well, because he's having an excellent race. And when you look at his performance with Ineos in the past number of years, it was nothing like this. He is really stood up to the mark.
A huge step forward, and we're going to take a step forward with a present member of the peloton. He's been a superb guest for us in the last few days. Those listeners of the cycling podcast will know him as the Motown Maestro. It's Larry Warbass who's here. And Larry, what's your take on what's been a dynamite start to the race?
Oh yeah, it's been great to watch so far, and just watching these guys can't be easy out there. You know, I think it's been an incredibly hard start. I think so far Visma, they've done a perfect race. They've gotten two of their best climbers in the front, so I think we will see a launch of Vingegaard at some point soon. Probably not this climb, but maybe the next one. And we're in for a super exciting day, and it's been great to watch so far.
Well, EF managed to get their man Carapaz across. You've got strong riders with Jorgensen and Kelderman now. That's important for them to grow the gap, and they're doing that. Interesting as well, Sean, that Soudal Quickstep have put a man, I think, into the chase too here. Certainly sitting second wheel at the minute.
Yes, well, they're in second wheel, but I don't think they're going to contribute here. They're just, you know, marking the situation and just follow it for a while and see what the positions later on the stage.
You're watching the Tour de France, and if you're watching, make sure you keep watching, because this is changing with a blink of every eye watching. At the front of the race today, Matteo Jorgensen, Simon Yates, Wilco Kelderman, Nicolas Prudhomme, Elan van Wilder, Jai Hindley, Richard Carapaz, Christian Rodriguez and Oscar Onley. It is quite the collection of climbers, and we have two tactical pieces for Visma Lease bike, one for Soudal Quickstep that could affect the outcome going forward. Sean's going to go off and have some lunch. We're going to welcome Danny in. It's changing all the time. We've just had Larry's view. Danny, how have you seen things? Looking good for Visma Lease bike, or are you equally impressed with the reaction from UAE?
No, I think I'm very impressed with Visma Lease bike. I think they had to go into this stage all guns blazing. They clearly set out a tactic for that numerical advantage.
Definitely a little work.
Up the road. in an almost win-win scenario as satellite riders who we have talked about in previous stages, being that rider to go ahead of the race and then use in this regard, Jonas, you know, makes it up to them and then profit off that in the final. So I think this is all they can do. They want to make it as hard as possible and have that numerical advantage. So I'm very, very excited for today's stage. It's only just beginning, isn't it?
Well, a chance to turn the tables, and whether it pays off or not, you have to hand it to Visma Leasebike for being so aggressive and sort of doing a contador, really. We don't know if it's going to be pulled off yet, but willing to lose everything and risk everything to gain the world.
We've seen it happen over the years, haven't we? Contador did it. Chris Froome in the Giro d'Italia. The Colle di Finestre?
Oh, yes.
This is quite the setup. I mean, it was the expectation this morning, and we go back to people noticing the bike choice of Jonas Vingegaard, the aero bike, the one-by chainring, just everything around the team just oozed aggressive racing, and I like what they're doing. And as Jonas said, people might be thinking, well, but they've done the same sort of thing, and Tadej keeps taking time on Jonas. They're just banking on eventually there will come a bad day or a bad moment. If you're not trying to give yourself the opportunity to take it, you've wasted it. And he said all along, I'm prepared to lose the lot to try and win everything.
Gap's almost at 2 minutes now. Does it matter what the gap is? Does it have to be big? Does it have to be kept in touch? I mean, is the idea just to make it hard all day?
Make it hard all day, but the gap doesn't matter so much, because if Jonas is able to go, they can always say to Kelderman, Jorgensen, for example, stop. So you don't keep riding tempo and wait for him to come across. You actually wait.
Tratnik has moved back into the centre of that group. Pogacar still sitting around halfway down, sitting behind Jonas Vingegaard. Evenepoel up to the front as we look towards the back of, I guess, what we have to call the peloton, the yellow jersey group, although the sides isn't really representative of that. This is Sobrero at the front, Jungles behind, 93 there from Groupama is Romain Grégoire.
And Sturven.
He's climbing well. I mean, you can see here, this is actually the end of the plateau on this climb. They're about to go uphill again to go up to this town, but so yeah, I think the pace must be slowing a little bit.
I can do it.
It's actually impressive that Niels Pollitt is still riding up there as well, because there's not a lot of guys left in that group. But unfortunately, I think if they up the pace anymore, there will be a lot of more guys out the back on this last part of the climb.
I don't know if Niels Pollitt has a nickname. I'm happy. Twitter, X, do your thing. Tell me what it is if you're aware of one. But whatever it might be, he just needs a new one, something that just is next level, that is befitting of his performance in this Tour de France.
The only ones I'd seen to this point were related to his smiley, beaming smile appearance. But I tell you what, he is beastly. Look, he's even smiling as he's climbing. He's that good.
That's a grimace. That's a grimace.
Come on. There's Jan Hirt behind him. Mikel Landa there as well. We mentioned Thomas was back. He's sitting alongside Carlos Rodriguez and Michal Kwiatkowski. Vingegaard, a reminder, is in the polka dot jersey again today. Evenepoel's in white. And of course, guess who is in yellow yet again? Tadej Pogacar.
Oscar Onley, we've seen how active Team DSM Firmenich Post-Anel have been throughout this Tour de France, and you seem to be coming in some fantastic form in this third week. What can we expect from you all today?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I feel good, but maybe compared to other guys, I've come through the last 2 weeks quite well, and yeah, I managed to be able to be at the front of the race this week, so that's been nice. And I think today's no different. We're going to try and go for the break again. Mainly for Roman and Warren, they saved a bit more energy yesterday. I was quite active in the beginning, so I don't really know how I feel so far, but yeah, I'll try and support them as best I can.
Have you been able to have a look at today's stage or a recon before coming to the Tour, because it's been one of those stages that's been highly anticipated?
No, I don't know anything about this stage really. Obviously, it's a big climb, like 3 big climbs, but no, it'll just be suffering and getting the information in my ear about what's coming up.
What did Roman or Warren tell you about today's stage, and what have they sort of asked you, or what asked of you to try and deliver them today?
Yeah, actually, Roman doesn't know the Bonnet climb. I think it's the only climb in this area he doesn't know, but no, Warren's done it before, and he said it's a hard
255 for 10. Very nice.
But no, I think it's just about getting the numbers in the break, and then from there we just have to keep talking to each other and see who's feeling good, because stage 19 you don't really know who's feeling good and who's not, so we just keep communicating with each other, and it's also not really down to us. The GC teams will decide how the day goes.
Thanks, Oscar. Best of luck today.
That was Hannah Walker, our reporter, having an eye as to who was going to go well today, because young Oscar Onley from Kelso in Bonnie, Scotland, has made it up into the breakaway. It's not strictly his Grand Tour debut, this. He rode a stage and a little bit of the Vuelta last year. As we're seeing his teammate abandon, Niels Eekhoff says goodbye to the Tour, and that has to be difficult when you're so close to making it to the end. But, well, only a stage and a half of the Vuelta ridden last year, so this is his proper Grand Tour debut, and he is shining. Look at the company he's in here, gents.
Yeah, it's super impressive. You know, I think every day he's been impressing me, Oscar Onley.
I'm really happy with that ride.
The results he's had already so far in his short time as a pro. It's impressive, and I think we can only expect bigger things from here on out.
And Danny, he talks about the climbs there. He didn't know much about them. Maybe it's best he didn't know much about them.
Yeah, I think so, but I don't think it really matters for a guy like Oscar Onley. Like he said, his teammates knew about the climb. He'd be able to get information off them, the likes of Velo Viewer, but ultimately on a day like today, you just have to have the legs, and he's shown a huge amount of strength. He had a great ride on stage 17 where he finished in 5th place, so the fact that he is here says so much more than, you know, not knowing the stage today.
If you're there, you're there. So this is kind of funny. It's something we actually had to talk about before.
And especially the heart rate.
Just before Tour de Alps,
I mean, it's already under 150.
Extra stage to see Monte Grappa.
I was pretty much above 160 for 10 minutes. You know, recovery is really good.
We used the energy to go do this the day before the race, and in the end, our coach just said, "Wow, if if you're there, you're there. You know, like if you have the legs at the end of the 3 weeks, it doesn't really matter, I guess. You know, so."
Yeah, and we had a few calls with DSs before the Tour de France.
Tired as fuck though. Don't get me wrong.
Spoke about which stages have you reckoned, which have you highlighted, and actually the general consensus was that you don't really need to go and recon. It takes away your recovery. The season is very busy anyway. If you're around the stages after other races and it doesn't take too much effort to get there, then yes, great. But then they weren't going to put a huge amount of effort in.
But all things considering,
to
70
that they could gain a lot of information on
6 rides.
Or from other teammates who might live closely.
I went from barely being able to ride at 170.
Gradients have just stopped ramping up a little bit
for any type of pace, and now I'm
so we're now going to the final 3.5 Ks of this
250, 270, 300 plus.
to Refuge Napoleon.
3 short bursts, but
It's around 2.5 Ks to go. We go above the
still
magic
making some damn good progress.
barrier. We often talk about it. It's often something that's difficult. Are we going to get to the stage where it gets so obvious, maybe after 3 weeks of racing, that there's an immediate impact on things? We'll have to see. This is Van Wilder. Adam tells me it's windy up the top as well.
I think these guys will be really happy to get to the summit, because you can see almost everyone, other than maybe the Visma guys, are on their limit. So, yeah, I think they'll be appreciating this false flat, and they'll be looking forward to the downhill.
I think 250 for 10's got to be my new record on Mywhoosh.
And then the Cime de la Bonnette, well over 22 2 kilometers of climbing. Constantly difficult. And then you've got that nasty bit at the top. Dear me. 10+% as the tour touches the sky. 2,800.
All right, let's see. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, it's definitely a hard one. That little extra loop up there. It's brutal, you know.
The only thing I really need now is longer rides, really.
It's really regular.
Anything 90 minutes, 80, 90 minutes.
Never extremely hard. There's no crazy steep sections, but then, yeah, you think you're done and you get to that last bit, and it's the last K that hurt the most.
It is just horrible when you get there. You think, come on, is this really necessary?
So there is no 10-minute. Okay.
To the ski station. That's 2000. It's Isola 2000 where we head today. First time in 31 years for a stage finish there. Rominger, the last winner in 1993. And in terms of going to the...
Still a great ride. Still a great ride. Really happy.
Twice in the 60s. 93 as well. And in 2008 when there was that awful crash for John Lee Augustin on the descent.
Considering I'm not having no fan, no cooling, just myself and my little body.
Rather without consequences, except for having to get a new bike because his had gone so far down.
Come a long way.
Slippery shale. It was quite incredible to watch. Could have been so much worse, but spectacular.
And we are almost finished. 8,100 out of 10,000. So that should be. Let's see. We got the bike. I got what? Okay, so probably another good week.
Giro winner Richard Carapaz. What a group we have here at the front, and that's not even mentioning those who were
close to Mount Everest. I mean, it was 700 more meters, 750. Not even.
Fly over to Europe and do his thing. Matteo Jorgensen. They'll be happy in
19 miles an hour for 1 hour. We can try that on Sunday. 30 hours. That'll be done next week.
Not particularly well-known rider, Christian Rodriguez, but he's solid from the very
Not
south
bad.
of Spain. A couple of wins in his career, including the GC in Rwanda.
The only thing I hate about this is that, like, if you're doing any type of training, like if you're doing a, if you're doing any route while training, it doesn't count if you complete the route. So, like, that's a little
We talked about the climb. They're nearly there.
dumb, I'd say, but
All of the experts alongside me said
what
they
can you
can't
do,
wait
I
for the
suppose? Yeah,
descent.
so, like, if I do any of these, none of these are complete because I only do structured workouts, so...
The descent, and the first thing I've noticed about this descent is that it's very, very irregular. It's super technical at the top, but also there are some long, straight sections with gentle meandering.
I think that
bends
FTP
where
of
you won't
240
need to
is
touch the brakes.
now
That
definitely
means
changed.
Higher speeds. Add to the mix as well. It's a very, very smooth road surface. Lovely, almost like a track. And then this particular section, there's a tailwind as well. So one thing's for sure, you are going to need.
But we'll see, we'll see.
Steel on this descent. And there are one or
Let's
two
do
bends
this.
as well that could catch riders out. What goes up must come down. And just look at this absolutely spectacular view as well.
I'll repeat what I said last time. You enjoy it, Matt, because this lot can't do that.
No eyes for the view for the riders going down there. And descents today, they'll be touching, and going over 100 kilometres an hour, particularly off the bonnet, as Larry and I were talking about earlier.
Still a really good ride.
Way above the tree line. You've got great visibility. It's quite a flowing descent, and you can see all the corners unfolding.
I'm really happy with that one.
Without, a forest getting in the way, so they will be absolutely motoring. It'll be quite frightening to watch.
Yeah, in addition to that, when you're at altitude, there's less air resistance, so you go even
I mean, an
faster.
average 187 is not really that much in the grand scheme of things. People can do 300 watts for fucking 4 hours, but I'm still making progress, so whatever.
So around 5 minutes now for the gruppetto behind the yellow jersey group.
What do you think, guys? Danny, do you think they've all...
Oh yeah, I gotta do 5 push-ups, huh? All right, let's do this.
Yeah, I think so. Richard Carapaz will be going for this one. We saw him yesterday picking up minor points on those third category climbs. If he was to win this one, he'd gain 40
Not
points.
the right camera.
Move from 37 to
phone?
57 points, and that would put him third behind Remco.
No way, I got a fake one, a fake follower on Kick. Damn it, so I gotta do 10. Damn. Don't look at the bald spot. It's somewhat there, but just don't look. Voila. Works for me. Whew. Damn. But yes, I pride myself on my push-ups. Because they're damn good.
Important to have those.
All right, now get out of these fucking sweaty ass clothes. This.
And Larry was saying how the valley between the first and second climb
Done.
is quite long, so I think it would really, play into Pog's hands to have those numbers there. So currently not too stressed, just keeping that nice tempo at the front.
Nicolas Prodhomme towards the back. Your teammate, Larry, reading up on him, he said if he wasn't a pro rider, he'd be an electrician.
He is actually an electrician, so I
there
think
he
passed his courses to become an electrician, and later on became a pro cyclist, because he's actually someone who he turned pro relatively late. He finished his under 23s, and it didn't work out, and so I guess.
All right, not bad. We got.
I guess in French they call it a formation. He finished his studies or whatever.
35 rides so far this year.
So. I mean, I wouldn't.
And we're up to 560 miles, 44,000 feet of elevation. Obviously, that's
he is capable.
phony,
Larry
but.
Warbasse there showing his faith in the French education system.
No. But yeah, no, I think it's pretty cool to have that just even under your belt. It's cool to see.
No runs this year. Maybe I'll go for a run. Can I wonder if I can live stream a run? I'm sure I can.
He's 27
figure it out.
Describes himself as not always being punctual. Is that right as well?
Well, I can
Any
tell
more
you
followers?
that
Let's do some more push-ups, huh?
he is, so we won't be judging anyone's punctuality, at least on from me.
Moving swiftly on as we'll have a look around at the scenery. Don't look down there, eh? Had it bad enough with the trails for the mountain bikes yesterday. Stunning in the background.
I'm going to have to set up some follower alerts and stuff like that. Make the stream look a little bit more live. It's pretty dead right now. Should I do some driving tonight or what?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he is quite a good climber, and I have to say he's really impressed me these last couple of years. He seems to have quite the knack for getting in the breakaway on hard stages and Grand Tours. So, last year in the Vuelta, he was in some really good moves, and unfortunately, it hasn't really worked out for him yet to make that into a win or a really big result, but he's knocking on the door, and he's really consistent there. So it's good to see, and it's great for our team because, yeah, they definitely, they need a result here, and he could be the one to do it. I mean, it's a super strong group up there, but, you know, I think even just being in that group with that class of riders it's a good ride already.
And in a group
Food is my main priority, so I gotta get some food going. So I'm probably gonna just AFK for a few.
The breathless start, and the speed continues downhill. Well over 100 clicks right now. There'll be a bit of braking going into this hairpin, and we're going to take that opportunity to have a change in the commentary box. I'll be back later on for the final climb. For now, to take you to the sky in the Tour, it's Carlton Kirby.
Thank you, Rob. Yeah, the air's getting thin, and yes, if it gets refined as well, I think it's almost the watchword or the watch phrase for the way that this race has gone. However, with what, 51 kilometers of descending to be contended with today, it's very much part of the toolkit that you're going to require. So you better have your wits about you on the descent here. We know that Tadej Pogačar and Jonas Vingegaard, the pair of them, extraordinarily good at this kind of thing. Possibility that Jonas has knocked back just a little bit of his confidence since his accident, of course, in the Tour of the Basque Country. But it doesn't seem to be that much in evidence, and so will there be any space between them? It's likely to be that it's got to be on the powerful climb that is to come.
I just want to give you a perspective from what it's like on this motorbike going down a hill. The riders are going down here at maybe 100, 110k an hour. We're just behind, and as you can see, we can't go as fast around the corners. We're still shifting and going very, very quick, but when we're going down this descent there, it is absolutely crazy. The foot pegs on the bottom of my shoe here, they keep scraping on the floor, and as you can see, my knee is quite high up, so it just gives you an indication how low we go. We've got to a flat part of the downhill, but as we start to go down again, boy, oh boy, oh boy, I forget what it's like being on a bike going down these hills, and I'd much rather be on that bike right now than going down a hill on the back of a motorbike, because it is scary. You can see them behind me, right up my jacksie, and it's like that just in front of me. We're about a metre off the bike in front. It is brilliant, but also absolutely terrifying. Back to you, commentators.
Adam doing a fantastic job. You've got to have ultimate trust in your pilot so that you lean the same way as he does when he leans the bike in. Don't start trying to counterbalance it, because he'll lean even more, and that's where you get yourself out of shape. Well, my name's Carlton Kirby. I'm sitting alongside Danny Rowe and Laurie Warbus. It's fabulous racing that we've had. Some gaps just opening up here. And Danny, this descending is very much, I said it was part of the toolkit. Today it's absolutely essential. You better be good at this, because there's an awful lot of coming down before we go back up again.
Yeah, it is essential, and it's terrifying for me to watch. It makes me so nervous being on this side of the TV screen and not in control of my bike, almost alluding to what Adam was saying on the back of the motorbike. But these riders do this day in, day out. A lot of them live in places where every single day they'll be taking on descents. No, they're not closed roads, but they know how to handle their bikes. Jonas, UAE have been, you know, having camps around this area. They'll know these descents like the back of their hands. Some of them use features on their head units to be able to see the severity of the corners, how much speed they have to scrub off before each turn. But others some are better than others. It's that confidence, that psychological aspect. And we know what Jonas has been through in that terrible crash in the Basque Country. We haven't seen much of it yet, but we could see maybe him struggling somewhat, just because of naturally that confidence has dropped somewhat after that crash.
Confidence, it's very much part of the skill set of going downhill, Larry, and having that confidence to just look not where you are on the road, but up ahead as well, and just counterbalance yourself, tee yourself up for the turn.
100%. One person who's great at that is Matteo Jorgensen, who's on the front of this breakaway right now. He's one of the best descenders I know, actually.
Well, I hope he doesn't run away from the man he's supposed to be working for today. What a battle plan, Larry, and what a beautifully executed one it was for Visma Leasebike to implant two teammates up the road. at least it's a statement. However, I think it potentially today is just going to come down to a head-to-head between the pair of them. When that is, I don't know. I'm actually wondering whether it's going to be over the bonnet.
I mean, I think we'd love to see it. You know, that'll, you know, it's easy for me to say being on this side of the screen. You know, I think it would be pretty cool to see a duel from really far out. But I do think at some point today it will come down to those two guys. But I have to say, really chapeau to Visma, because it's one thing to make this plan in the meeting and to come up with it, you know, however long before. But to actually be able to deliver, to get two of their strongest climbers in the break on one of the hardest days is it's really impressive. So at least they set it up perfectly. Whatever happens, happens, but they couldn't have, I guess, played it better up until this point.
Danny, it's all very well having a plan. You have to have an adaptable one as well. And I get the feeling that UAE Team Emirates, maybe, I'm not sure this is how they wanted it to work out, but they're spending their time trying to look as cool as possible, aren't they?
Yeah, and I'm not worried.
Unruffled.
I'm not worried so far for them. You know, I totally agree with Larry in that Visma Lease Bike are executing exactly what they set out to do, and chapeau to them because they are throwing everything into this stage. But with the performances that we've seen from Pogacar throughout this Tour de France, I still think he'll be very, very confident. And if we look at the time gap, it's still, what, 3 minutes and 11 seconds that Jonas would have to take out of Pogacar to take the yellow jersey, and that is what he is coming here to do. Pogacar has won 8 out of the 11 mountain finishes that we've had so far this year. Jonas has been the only guy to beat him that hasn't come from a break. He is in the best shape that he's ever been in, performing at the highest level, and I think if it comes down to, you know, man-on-man, then Pogacar will take the victory.
You do feel that Jonas Vingegaard is growing into the race, though, don't you? He looked undiminished. In fact, looked magnificent when he beat Pogacar on Lioran. Remember how Pogacar tried to shake him off in the descent? It didn't work, and then a gap just disappeared when he was able to turn it on. And turn it on he did. Now, we're just wondering how much that took out of him. We've been asking a constant question as to whether there's any kind of deficit with Jonas Vingegaard remaining. He says he's getting stronger and stronger. It was a very, very emotional day when he took that victory. And we're asking ourselves constantly whether he can get another stage win, and indeed whether that might be today. Even if Tadej Pogacar is within range, that would be okay for today, but he doesn't give up victories when they're going lightly. On a long descent, 11 kilometers, just starting to flatten out ever so slightly, and we kind of bounce. There's not much transition point today within the valley bottoms, and then we'll be taking on the bonnet. Now, when the route map was actually released and we had a look at the bonnet, and all riders have been talking about how difficult the start of this race was. It was drama straight out of the box, wasn't it? And now we are, with a weekend ahead of us of action. And this Friday stage, well, described variously as the Queen stage, the ultimate, the monster. Well, it's coming today, and it's going to eat up a few ambitions, you can be sure of that. With 88.6 kilometers to go, now maybe there's some thinking time. And if that is the case, surely I think somebody wants to go long. Whether that's Carapaz out front, I do not know. But I've got a feeling there's going to be an attack over the bonnet, because as soon as you've dealt with that, you have 40 kilometers of climbing before the last of descending, I should say, I beg your pardon, before the last 16 kilometers of climbing. So there is an opportunity for somebody who is able to empty themselves and retrieve their legs in that very, very long descent, Larry, and then pour it on in the last 16.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely think that's possible. But just one small thing I wanted to take a note of is Carapaz. You know, we had this discussion, for those who were listening and watching yesterday, we were talking about food and how everyone's going to gels and, you know, all these chews, everything's super high tech. But there do exist the old school bananas. You know, he just, yeah, instead of, I think sometimes you get tired of the gels and the banana's still super efficient and effective. So that's just kind of funny to see that, you know, he's in such an important moment of the race, going full gas, and yeah, he's still eating a banana. So yeah, it still exists.
Good for him. Well, it's got a natural biodegradable case with the goodies on the inside. I mean, it's nature's cycling supply, isn't it? It's phenomenal. Just so is this man. I just cannot believe what Niels Pollitt is doing today, Danny.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah,
We saw
amazing.
it earlier in the Tour, over the Tourmalet, where he rode on the front for, I think, the entirety of the climb. It's how he's climbing that it's just been so impressive. One of the instrumental parts of Team UAE.
Yeah, he's a big motor, and Tade's been really lucky to have him this tour because he's done I don't know how many kilometers on the front. And you know, I guess for him, his job will probably be done once they hit the foot of Bonnet. So I think we'll look to him to sort of do the last big pulls. And I think once we hit the slopes of that long climb, it's probably day done for him. So yeah, he's gonna go full, and it's maybe easier to get through and do that huge of work when you know that your finish line can be somewhat earlier than the rest of the guys.
Last time we were here, the finish line was in Josières, and that's where we're heading right now. Last time we were here, John Lee Augustin of Barlow World came up over the top. He was racing back down to where we're just about to arrive in now, and he lost it on the shale of the mountain just beyond the tree line. His bike as well skittled off. I don't think he retrieved the bike. There was a couple of incidents around that time, actually, of bikes getting lost. One of the most magnificent was actually when a rider stopped, handed over, I think he was from Vini Fantini, handed over his rather beautiful steed to a man at the side of the road. Then the car and the rider took off and left the guy with the bike. And he did push on and try and warn them and said, "Stop, I need to give this bike back." And the team just sped off. He was then prosecuted, and media went crazy because he tried to give the bike back, went to court, and he was allowed to keep the bike. Love that.
That's a great story. I never heard that one.
Yeah, it was absolutely hilarious because it was all there on TV. Yeah, you get to keep a Vini Fantini bike. It was absolutely beautiful in a sort of day glow tree frog green or yellow. I can't quite remember how they described it. Describing this, though, is just a powerhouse performance. Stand clear of the yellow line. There's a train coming through. Time for us to drop into a little bit of history. We've only been over the Bonnet very few times. In fact, in 1962, who was it that went over the top? Well, it was Federico Barmontes. He did it on 2 occasions. John Harris Bass will take us through the archive. A little bit of history for you today. This is only the 5th time of its appearance on the Tour de France today. 62 was the first.
The Col de la Bonnette, at a mighty 2,802 metres, the highest paved road in Europe. Bonnet making its first Tour appearance in 1962 on stage 18 between Antibes and Briançon. Such a remarkable climb needed a remarkable climber to immortalise its debut. Enter Federico Barmontes, the Eagle of Toledo. Spaniard, already one of the greatest climbers of all time, winner of the Tour in 1959 and King of the Mountains in 3 different editions. In 1962, Barmontes was chasing his 4th mountains classification, and nobody could live with him when the road ramped up like this. Rider number 91, soaring his way to the summit, cheered on by the fans who'd braved the climb of La Bonnette. If anything, he was going too quickly for the poor photographers. Next to reach the summit was Eddie Pavels, the race's most combative rider, followed a few minutes later by the 1958 winner Charlie Gall. Barmontes was caught on the descent, but little matter. He still went down in history as the first man to conquer La Bonnette.
Absolutely magnificent. I wasn't sure what steed he was on there, but the equipment extraordinarily different, and that almost adds to our admiration of what they achieved, Danny, back in the day.
Yeah, it does indeed, and we talk
Bit of
about
Reynolds tubing.
all the advancements, don't we, of technology, but it's always great to see what the riders had to ride on back then, how times have changed, and yeah, there's pros and cons, isn't there, of all the scientific evidence that we now have within our sport and how it changes bike racing.
John, you've got to tell us about this. Who are they keeping out and who are they keeping in?
Well, this was initially built in 1843 and completed in 1865, so just a border patrol, really, but then came to prominence during the First World War. Fortress was used as a prison for German soldiers. In June 1940, it was then used to house the command posts of the units defending the Ubay Valley, and it had 500 cannon shots to stop the Italian troops getting in. It was used as an ammunition dump up until 1987. Now it has been secured by the local commune, and they haven't decided what they're going to do with it yet. So it's not a museum. It's just one of those things that the commune owns, but they haven't quite agreed on what they're going to do with it.
John, it's got to be an Airbnb, a super luxury one for you and your recipes, surely. I mean, what a place, what a view.
A restaurant, it could definitely be a restaurant. That would be what an idea that is.
Jono's barbecue, fantastic. While we've got a moment, John, before we actually take on the climb, what are we, just about 1 o'clock in the UK, 2 in the afternoon as the bottles get handed directly. How's that for service? John, what have you got cooked up for us today?
Today, Carlton, I've done a very tasty little morsel, which is a crevette tartare, so prawn tartare, which is sort of an homage of my own towards Jose, the chef at the Petit Fanon in Paris. He was a lovely Portuguese chef who worked there for many, many years. Apparently, though, when I last spoke to the guys running the restaurant, he went away on his summer holidays one year, never came back. So they don't really know what happened to him, but he was a great chef, and he used to do this fantastic starter of prawns, coriander, ginger, chilies, avocado, sesame seed and toasted sesame oil, some fresh olive oil as well, salt and pepper, and a little bit of extra garlic. So it's just cooking your raw prawns with a little bit of garlic until they're nice and well, very, very tasty and succulent. Then you chop them up, throw them together with all the other ingredients, stick them in a chef's ring, and Bob's your uncle. And that recipe, along with all others, can be found on my Instagram page at JHBFoodieCyclist. And I'm going to brave making brioche again this evening, so that hopefully that brioche recipe will be there for your delectation tomorrow.
John's going to be platting brioche. Can't wait to see the result. Here we go then. We're about to get off and underway. Jimmy de la Bonnette, and there it is, 10.3% towards the end. Some of the gradients are going to be a lot more than that, or possibly feel that way by the time we get to the end. Now, there is a margin of 4 minutes and 22. 2 satellite riders up the road on behalf of Jonas Vingegaard, and an awful lot of action about to happen right now, I believe, anyway. I think it may well be that when we get over the top of the Bonnette, things have thinned down. We'll have more of a picture, Larry, as to what is ahead of us today.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of action about to start. So I think everyone in the peloton, they'll be taking their last nature breaks. They'll be going to the car, getting their bottles, their food, and yeah, buckling up, because it's gonna take off, I think. So it'll be interesting to see what happens up here in the breakaway, to see, you know, if Carapaz pushes on in front, if the guys from Visma end up slowing down, but I guess we'll know soon enough.
Danny, it's been described variously as a reasonably steady climb. There's not much respite throughout it. There are a couple of little plateau sections, but you have to work very hard to get to them.
Yeah, you do, and the top is the steepest, so the final kilometre averages at around 12%. I think we'll still...
All right, that was much needed. Holy hell.
Top, that will be where, you know, the real action will start. Richard Carapaz will be looking to take 40 points at the top, so extra double points on offer. Tadej Pogačar just throwing his bottle into the Intermarché car there.
Don't do that at home, kids, because it can end up rolling underneath a brake pedal, and that's not what we want. Sorry, Danny.
No, I was just saying that Carapaz will, of course, be going for those 40 points. It's double points on the top of La Bonnette. that would put him in virtual lead in that competition, and the steep part is towards the top.
I've got a feeling that Tadej Pogačar may well get fined for that. I have to say, it's a bit dangerous, but
I think they'll let it go. You know, I think
well, the user have been very strict.
Let me fill up my bottles.
Yeah, but you know, I think he would have gotten the fine if he threw it on the side of the road, and I think he still did the right thing by trying to dispose of his bottle in a place where it'll get taken care of. But it was pretty last-minute quick thinking. I think. Yeah, if I'm in that situation, I actually try to give it to the red car. You know, if you have some trash, they're happy to take it. But you know, I actually think those guys will be happy to have that souvenir from Tadej.
Maybe, yeah. Not much premeditated about that, if it is deemed to be a crime. So 4 and 5% at the very beginning, and then it starts to ramp up 7, and really doesn't drop below that. The last 5, even 10 kilometres of this climb, and it's a long one, we remind you. It goes on, and indeed, by the time we get to the top, after 22.9 kilometres of climbing, we will be 2,800 metres above sea level. That is a long way up. The air will be thin. Danny, describe to us what it does to the body.
Oh, a lot, but these riders are used to it. Just hear from UAE Team Emirates on the radio. And oh, here we go.
Just with this pace, perfect like this, guys. And important, follow the Gorka plan with feeding.
Well, we saw them back at the car, Danny, making sure that they've had everything that they need, because it's going to be very difficult to make a take of anything you might need when the averages really start to pick up.
Yeah, and there'll be a meticulous feeding plan, as we just heard there from UAE Team Emirates. Also carrying bottles up the climb, they'll know when to get rid of them, because we saw Jonas on a special bike this morning. It'll be the lightest version of whatever is available to him. But you don't want to be carrying excess bottles when you don't need them. So that will be part of the plan, when to take liquid on board, when to fuel before the climb. It's really hard to keep fueling, especially on the steeper gradient. So that would have been planned throughout every single stage as to how many carbohydrates you need, when you should take them, and when to get rid of those bottles from your bike. But yeah, going back to altitude, it's really, really tough, and that's why riders spend a lot of time at altitude, not just for the benefits that it gives you physiologically, but also to get used to racing, because obviously the oxygen is very, very different. And we don't know how these riders' bodies are going to respond to it. We discussed it on the breakaway that you could have a very bad day at altitude, and Larry was saying it can just magnify how you're feeling, whether that be good or bad. So it's just another element to add into the mix today.
So a kind of a gentle introduction to something that's absolutely hellish today. It's been writ large in the battle plan of many a team. I am certain, possibly for many, Larry, just to be coped with apart from anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, so like Danny was saying, I do think doing pre-tour altitude camps, it can serve 2 purposes. You know, one, it is, you know, it's good, helps you create more red blood cells. It's good for the performance in that way, but it's also to be able to adapt to, performing at altitude, to be able to do these efforts at high altitude. And we see those are really critical points in every Grand Tour. You know, every Grand Tour, we have stages where the finishes are over 2,000 meters, and once you hit that threshold, then it probably starts from about 1,400-1,500. You really start to feel it. And if you can spend a few weeks, 21 days for a lot of the teams before a Grand Tour adapting to that altitude, you're definitely better off for it. And it's easier to make those efforts when you get there.
Crowds here, out in force. Also, a fighting force now just being invoked by UAE Team Emirates. You see the clock just starting to tick down on the gap. I'm just wondering when the test of Jonas Vingegaard and those he has around him from Visma Lease bike begins. And it feels like it's now. There is a sort of a change of demeanour back in the peloton. They've managed to find 4 or 5 seconds in very short order. Let's see if that clock does indeed start to bounce. There's been a response by those up front. And, the security whoop is doing its job of trying to clear, indeed, a path for everybody here. Carapaz has been somebody who's absolutely grown into the race. He's been wasn't as lively as perhaps we thought early on, and all of a sudden he seems very much in command of his own destiny. I wouldn't be surprised if he grabs another win today, Danny.
No, I wouldn't be, and I think if we look at the history of Carapaz, if he's not going for GC, he usually does come good in this third week, and that's exactly what we've seen from him here. We didn't know quite what his form was going to be after crashing out of the Tour de Suisse, but he has grown throughout this race. He had the yellow jersey early on, didn't he? You know, for EF, they came in with 8 leaders. That was their goal, to give 8 opportunities to all of these riders. They tried and tried again with mainly Carapaz and Ben Healy, and then it paid off, didn't it? And Carapaz took his win that he very much deserved. But yeah, this is a perfect situation for him going for the polka dot jersey competition. But if this gap sustains, he's definitely got the capabilities, the attributes as a rider to take another stage win.
Another 5 seconds, 6 seconds now, going the way of the peloton, which is the yellow jersey group, which is being driven on by UAE Team Emirates at the moment. A whole phalanx of Visma Lease bike riders are around Jonas Vingegaard in the polka dot jersey behind. Meanwhile, the two up front doing a fantastic job. Matthew Jorgensen and Wilco Kelderman just doing their steering duties as they can. How much margin do you think that they want between the two groups by the time we get to our final climb, bearing in mind that we believe that Jorgensen and Kelderman will be satellite riders and used as such? But the chase is on here, Larry.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking that myself. I was trying to calculate, if I'm in the breakaway, how much time do I need at the bottom of the last climb if I want to win the stage? I think a guy like Carapaz on a day like today will need...
Marble, homie. I don't know if you're still here. I doubt it, because I've been gone for a while. But I hope you've been having a good ride, my friend.
But if I'm...
I think I'm going to start setting up for some driving.
I definitely don't want a 5-minute gap to cross, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. But if I were Jonas and Visma, I'd probably try somewhere halfway up this climb to really make it hard.
Now off duty, apparently. Some others as well. Chris Urias just coming off the back here. No shame in it whatsoever. We're going to have a gruppetto today. It's already established, as you can see. It's 10.5 minutes down. But our thoughts are not even on the riders up front. Our main thoughts, it's about what's going to happen between Tadej Pogačar and Jonas Vingegaard. And quite frankly, we're not quite sure just for the time being, and that's the magic of it. I know many have been on social media saying, no, this race is already over. It's far from it, Danny, and these 2 days are absolutely pivotal. And I suggest, the next 76 kilometres, even more so.
Yeah, we've got 2 monstrous days, haven't we, where everything could change. This race, to me, is still very much wide open. We know that minutes can, be won or lost on a day like today, on a day like tomorrow. And we keep talking about Tadej Pogačar and Jonas Vingegaard, but we have to mention Remco Evenepoel as well, because he's been riding with such maturity. He's 2 minutes and 2 seconds behind Jonas Vingegaard, but he could really profit off those two looking at each other. And also the fact that Jonas is going big, is going for the win as well. And if he does blow up, that could work in Remco's favour. That last climb really levels out at the top. It's very steep at the bottom, Isola, but then at the top, the last kind of 6 kilometres is at about 6%. So if there are gaps there, he could really use those to close and then try and attack himself. So definitely not over, and today and tomorrow are the big ones.
I've got it as 1 minute and 58, but nonetheless, it's extraordinarily tight as well in a few other sections. Landa is 27 seconds behind Almeida in 4th. Carlos Rodriguez is 6 seconds only behind 5th place Landa himself. As also duking out for a top 10 place, don't forget, with Derek G, Butrago and Felix Gall, all really blanketed by around about 1 minute, so they can make up ground or indeed lose it. And some important, indeed, bragging rights that you'll have at the end of today. However, first and foremost, we've got to deal with the Col de Monet, and it's starting to intensify already. It's going to be welcoming back our wider Eurosport, our wider cycling fraternity, I should say, here. Those of you who don't want to go on commercial breaks, by the way, you can subscribe to Discovery Plus. I'm talking to those who are already converted. We're waiting for Linear to come back to us at the moment. So we ply our trade along the boundaries of this almost a rib, isn't it, as we get up to the high ground. But what waits for us is some very thin air at the top once we bridge 2,800 meters of altitude. There it is. Absolutely remarkable. Well, the pace is being set and doing a fantastic job out front. Jorgensen and Kelderman, I don't know whether it was a short straw for them today or not, but however it worked out, I think they were very much part of the dialed-in.
Hello? Hello? Hey, I'm sorry if that's loud. I think it's loud. But I got this, I've had this mic forever. I'm glad I can figure out how to use it. It might be loud. I can adjust the decibels.
Inspiring these youngsters on the side of the road, it's brilliant.
Hello?
Hello?
Alright, I think that's... okay. We'll leave it around here.
Above it, that's good. But the person dancing around with the tricolor, dressed, it looks like he's dressed.
This fucking screen that I have on now looks like shit.
He's dressed as a chicken. He's dressed as a chicken.
Okay.
So I mean, I'll give him more marks. He can have a 5.
Dude, I have so much laundry.
Come on.
Ay.
I have to agree with you this time, John. I thought you'd been a bit harsh up to now, but I'm agreeing with you on that.
Just in keeping with the spirit of the homages and the tour.
He didn't know about the climb. He knows about it now, Larry. He's off the back.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to turn this off for a minute and turn it back on. I got to step out for 10 minutes. And I think I'm going to do some driving tonight.
Super excited to be able to get up the road because, you know, it's a great role to have, but he's been on the side of
I'm getting a lot of echoes.
been staying with him, and I know he's definitely wanted to go in the breakaways, but he hasn't really had his chance. So, you know, while this breakaway probably isn't for personal glory today, it's to set up something for his leader. I think he's just super excited to get out front in the Tour de France and, yeah, being able to make his impact on the race. So I think both these guys are flying, and they're going to play a really critical role today.
Two very brave riders who bridged over. Simon Yates, who is here.
Probably even better if I had it like pointing towards my mouth.
Your screen, just picking him up in a moment, and also, of course, Richard Carapaz.
Yeah, I think Simon Yates will be disappointed to see Carapaz up there with him again today after the other day.
Yes, indeed. 1 and 2 they were, and to Super Delouvi. We did
I don't know. I think it's pretty good here.
So you have a big confidence ahead
It's not
of
that
today,
loud though.
So are you feeling that you ride on the highest level you ever had today?
All right, I'm gonna be back.
I think, yeah, this tour, I think has been